Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining. I give so many of these at different times of the day. It's great to just say good afternoon to everyone. Pacific, East, Central, it's afternoon, so hope it's a beautiful one where you are. It's snowing here in Denver. It's nice, but thanks for joining for this mapping the journey of the digital travel and how to influence them. We have an incredible, diverse group of people that are on here listening, and just we're going to try to make it worthwhile for everyone. We've got resorts, we've got convention bureaus, attractions, people are trying to sell tickets, transportation, so quite a plethora of diverse businesses, and we hope you get a lot of value out of this. A little bit of housekeeping just to make sure, we are recording this, so you will have a recording. We'll be sending that out. Please put questions in the questions box, and we'll try to get to those. If we don't, we will answer them in the follow-up email. And just, it's snowing in Denver, and last time I gave a presentation that it was snowing, the audio quality wasn't as good if you were on the computer. So if you're having any issues, just dial in if you have your cell phone next to you, and that should clear that up. So without further ado, I'll just go in here, and got a couple of lovely people, or one lovely person on here with me. Got Maria Coleman. She's our marketing content manager. She's been with Ad Taxi for, well, just about 7 years, just right now. And
yes,
there you go. Happy anniversary to you.
Thank you.
What I love about Maria is she has such a great diverse background on some operations, so she can really give insights on pulling the levers and making your campaign shine. What I don't like about her so much is she's an Ohio State addict. Just joking. Just have to give you a little.
You're just
ruffle
jealous.
your feathers.
Good season.
Yeah. Seeing that my school didn't have a team at that time, yes, I am jealous. All right, a little bit about myself. Hey, I've been immersed in digital since before Facebook. And my early career, I lived in Vail, and I worked for the Tourism and Convention Bureau up there. So those were early times of the internet. Facebook wasn't around, and it was quite different. But now we're going to bring this up to 2020 and show you some ways to be successful. We're going to do things just a little bit different, and hopefully you enjoy it. We're going to not try to tell a story and all these things and then say, hey, here's some client success. We're going to start with client success and back into that. So we're going to talk about what people did, how they're successful, and then back into some of that strategy that they employ. So we'll also talk about industry insights, knowing your audience, and then, of course, growing your business, probably why you're here mostly. So client success, I'm going to hand it over, or no, this is mine, sorry, Maria. This one, we worked with the Visitors Bureau. This is Flagstaff Convention and Visitor Bureau. They've been with us for 7 years, so super happy to have them for that long. And I don't really like to get into like metrics of how much they spend and things like that because it's proprietary. But what I do find a judge of success is that they've been with us for 7 years, and they've increased their budget 20% on a constrained budget because they're CBD, they're funded by taxes, et cetera. You guys know that. Their goal was to get increased heads and beds and drive tourism there. What I love about the program, what they've done so successfully is had a great ad mix. Search, social, display, and for video, they really concentrated on YouTube. I think their ads are really catchy. They actually won awards for their lunar legacy and talking about that, kind of pretending that you're on the moon there, the training that was done there. And then I love the one, Unleash Yourself. I think that's just a great catchy tagline. But some of the highlights for them, and we're going to talk about it more, is audience development. They use extensive use of lookalike modeling to increase their prospecting. So what we do is we take their bookings that they use on monthly. They have visitor guide downloads on their site, and they have a third-party relationship with another company that they get some leads from when people are interested in Flagstaff. We take that, we build lookalikes out of that, and it builds such an incredible prospecting tool for us to garner more business and more interest in Flagstaff. Display lead growth. Last year, this is just a one-year number, our display and retargeting leads, we grew by 150%. For YouTube, 340,000 completed views on the platform and about 3 cents per view. So some great metrics there for this CVB. Then we would get into, my computer doesn't seem to want to click so fast, get into a casino and a hotel. So we need to put the heads in beds again and drive ticket sales. So a different animal, a little bit. They've been with us for 4 years. Here we've got substantial budget increases, 30% last year and 400% from their initial budget. And I just, again, I use that because I think it's the telltale of how we're doing for someone. Their goal is ticket sales, lodging bookings, so absolute revenue driving, and then obviously, or not obviously, but dining interest. That we can't quantify, but we want to drive that. Again, a great product mix, search, social, display. They went out and did some connected TV as well and used programmatic audio and the Spotify platform. Return on ad spend here was 11x, so a great return, measurable for online bookings there. Their highlights, I'm going to touch on the programmatic side of audio, 180,000 completions with a 91% completion rate, 2 cents per listen on that, and their connected TV, almost the same metrics as before. Flagstaff, another 340,000 completions, 90% completion rate altogether, and 3 cents per view. So very strong results. And where we're going to go back into some of this is talking about that product mix and how to drive awareness and stand out from some of the other online aggregators that are out there. Now I'll hand it over to the lovely Miss Maria.
Yes, hello, thank you. So let's start off with just a little bit of a visual just to give you an idea of what we're talking about. Again, we were trying to give you kind of a different approach instead of just walking through products, really give you that takeaway that you can see things in action. So how many of you virtually, I guess, have been to Central Oregon? I have not, but it has really never been on my list of places to go. So Bob, can you take us to the next slide?
I can try.
So here we're going to watch just a clip about Central Oregon real quick.
Where your heart is, you'll find your treasure. Then Central Oregon is one of the richest places on earth. It's a place where mountains, rivers, lakes, and desert all meet at the crossroads of inspiration and adventure. A place where you'll find some of the nicest people you will ever meet. And where kids can get back to being kids. Adventure is different for everyone, and in Central Oregon, you can choose your own. You can climb up a mountain, or ski down it, hike a trail along the river, or raft the rapids, take a drive along the Cascade Lake Flataway, or cycle it, play 18 holes, or play a different course every day for a month. In Central Oregon, you'll find an experience that can't be had anywhere else, and you find it all under 300 days of sunshine. So follow your dreams here, whether it's your dream vacation or your dream home. Tell us your story and become part of ours. Oh yeah, and when you're packing, leave room for a little magic. It's all waiting for you. Central Oregon, adventure calls.
Thank you, Bob. As you can see, this is a client that we do work with and we have worked with. One thing I think is really important, like I said, Central Oregon has never been on my list, but this video really piqued my interest. I actually just moved back east from Denver, so this really makes me miss the mountains. Even for people who don't have that attachment, just look at the outdoors, the kind of peacefulness off the grid. It's a great generic video. It catches your attention if you've never been there or it's never really been something you've thought about. But taking that to another level really can push people into that next step, into making that consideration and making that decision to maybe check out more information. So Bob, can you show us the next one, please? Thank you. So as you can see, yeah, very short and sweet. This one is much more specific. Now, like I said, thinking about Central Oregon looks kind of cool. I don't know. There's a lot going on. Kind of hard to narrow it down. I have 2 small children. Seeing something like this, for me specifically, really hammers it home, because I'm like, okay, this is a great time of year we could go. We can actually do this in Central Oregon. It will capture my 2-year-old's attention for more than 30 seconds. They've targeted someone who is a mom, especially. I'm right in their demographic, and it really goes back to knowing your audience, which we'll kind of dive into. But this, I think, is a great example of how, a generic video is good kind of at the top of the funnel, and we'll get into that as well. But as you think farther down and are really trying to help with those purchase decisions, getting these specific messages can make a huge difference in getting those purchase decisions or taking those next steps. So from there, we want to talk about a couple industry insights and just kind of a high-level overview of what we're seeing before we really drill into the information. So first, we want to talk about just the history of travel now previously. And at this point, I feel like it's been a while. You used to go through travel agents to get the best deals. Not everyone had access to the information. They didn't know where to start. You'd go to a travel agent, tell them what you're looking for, and they could coordinate everything for you, dates, times, basically start to finish. You would pay them, and then they would do the heavy lifting, and that was how it was done. And now it's completely changed. The market is available to anyone 24/7. You can wake up in the middle of the night, start thinking about that trip you've been wanting to take. Maybe you're stressed out from work, or maybe you just need to get away from the weekend. You always have that information at your fingertips, which is really great, but it also changes the market as an advertiser, because now you have all this competition all the time, and you constantly need new ways to kind of get in front of people and get your message across at all different areas of, I guess, their journey, from when they might be thinking about a trip to when they're ready to pull the trigger and actually book something. This just gives you, again, an overview of the spend. Again, we know everyone needs a vacation or wants a vacation, but this really lays out kind of what it looks like as far as the industry, digital ad spend, what, travel agency, or not agencies, but travel companies and places like that, how they're spending. It is continuing to go up, which I think is really compelling. There's a lot of information about how, this industry is changing. We'll get into, again, some other things later, how Google and other platforms are really changing their ways to accommodate this. So this is a great way to see this spend is there. It's going to continue to go up, and it is a really hot place to be trying to get in front of people. And you also can look at the breakdown, which I think is really great. And like Bob said, we have different kinds of, attractions or CVVs and things like that are on this call, and you can kind of see how it plays out. What an airline, how they might divide up their budget is going to look a little different than a hotel. But you can see overall, each one is going for that overall media mix. It's a little bit of everything to get that kind of omni-channel messaging, so that you're continuing to be in front of people on all different platforms.
Awesome.
And again, some quick facts, which I think are really interesting. Digital ad spend is going to continue to grow. What is really compelling is that you can also see it's going to grow about 19% in 2020, but you also can see just digital ad spend as a whole is going to grow about the same pace. So it is a huge market, a lot of opportunity. Travel remains search heavy. I think everyone kind of knows that, but it's really critical that your search campaigns are tailored to different kinds of travelers, different kinds of messaging, because people tend to use that as, at least in some capacity during their journey to book a trip. A lot of it starts at the beginning. Like I said, my family, we have 2 small kids. We're looking to get away. I'm looking for maybe a trip within a couple hours that has a lot of attractions for small kids, and I don't really know where I want to go. So you may start with search, great vacations within a 3-hour distance from me. Search is definitely key for this industry. Among the travel ad display dollars, again, 58 will go toward video, and I think that goes back to the Central Oregon video that we showed. It's just really compelling. It catches your eye, and you can mentally just kind of picture yourself or your family in that environment and kind of take yourself away to, wow, this would be a really great idea. So knowing your audience, and I think everyone on the phone probably knows this, but knowing your audience is key, and we're going to kind of get into why, obviously that's important, but why that also can be a little bit tricky, and how to get that information so that you can really get in front of those people. So travelers, again, we were talking about travelers usually pick a destination before brands or accommodations. Like I said, you may have an idea in mind, and then you're going to kind of narrow it down from there. We need to get away for the weekend. What's kind of within a driving distance, and then kind of whittling it back from there. I will tell you, brands, accommodations, specific names of hotels are probably going to be at the very bottom of my list of priorities. We're going to work backwards as far as where we want to go, how we're going to get there, what are the dates, and then we'll get to those brands and accommodations. So the loyalty to a brand is not as important as that top of the funnel, because you're going to look for a brand that fits into your schedule rather than fitting your schedule around a brand. And then the research journey, like we said, people research and purchase. It's unique. Everybody's going to have a little bit different. It's going to depend on where you want to go, how much time you have, how many people are going with you, what your plan is, what kind of person are you? Are you a beach person or a mountain person? So that's really going to influence the journey as well.
Yeah, that's one that you're going to hear a lot about in this, just like with the balloon video, just hitting that, segmenting that message and making sure you're capturing the uniqueness of everybody. And here, this reinforces it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Bob and I were laughing when we were talking about just how are we going to kind of convey all this information, because it's a little bit different no matter who you talk to. So how many different types of travelers are there? Well, it depends on who you ask. You may have the traveler who's the weekend getaway person. You may have the traveler who's the planner. They've been planning for 6 months for this big vacation. Someone who just decides, hey, it's snowing in the mountains. Let's take a long weekend and, hit up some, skiing and whatnot while we're away. So there are multiple different kinds of travelers. So you really, again, need to segment your audience to fit all these different people or all these different types of travelers. I don't think there's a right answer, but definitely you want to have more than one strategy. And travel considerations. So some of the things that I think are really interesting is, while people are narrowing it down, these are the 3 main things that they're looking for that are really influencing their decisions. And this should also play into your messaging as well. So price is obviously top concern. That is such a huge percentage of people are concerned with price over anything. Maybe they're traveling on a budget, or maybe the less they spend on getting there, the more they can spend when they get there. So price is obviously, something that is a huge factor. Quality, and make sure you're in a nice place that offers what you need. And then perks, is there a pool? Is there a spa available, in the mountains? What are the little perks? I know Beaver Creek offers hot chocolate chip cookies at the bottom. That may not seem like a big deal, but that makes me want to go to Beaver Creek every time. So just little things like that. People pay attention to that stuff, and it's great to include in your messaging just to catch their attention.
Yes, my kids love the Beaver Creek cookies.
It's the best. It works on adults too. If we want to talk about the deal.
Sorry, go ahead.
The journey. No, you're fine. So then we want to talk about the journey, and this again plays into it. So you have all these different types of people. There's all different ways that they're getting to you, and again we'll kind of go over that. But it's really important to know that this is not a short journey to get to making these decisions. They involve at least 45 touch points across several devices. We know people are looking on their phones, on their maybe tablets, on their laptops at work when they're at lunch, or whatever the case may be. So there's multiple opportunities, and you need to continue to resonate with your messaging, because it's going to take a while for someone to actually make that decision. Again, one thing that I think is really interesting is that people are, they are still taking long vacations, but there are much more people planning those short getaways. They just need a break from the daily grind. So they're looking for ways to get away. And we have some great tips on how to get in front of those people dynamically, just based on what is going on. It's a great way to prompt them to make that decision. And again, you're going to hear about this throughout, I feel like, digital marketing right now. This is a really hot button, is experiences. People are looking for experiences with shopping. They're also looking for them with destinations. And it doesn't just stop before, when they actually book their trip. Once they're at the destination, 48% of bookings for experiences actually happen once they're already there. So again, Bob, I know you just took a trip, and when you got there, can you tell us about your trip to Moab? I guess what you did when you got there.
Yeah, I didn't have much lined up outside of the accommodations. Had some ideas of things to do, but from when I got there, I booked my 4-wheel drive trip. I booked a tour on the mountain bike, lined up going in the national park and hiking. So it was all those experiences that kind of once I got here and figured out the weather and what was going on and what I could cram in on a 3-day short vacation, all those experiences kind of happened after I got there.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we'll talk about some just clever ways to play off of those, ways to get in front of those people once they're already there, and what kind of little triggers can help you get that messaging out.
Yeah, one of the things I find interesting is this 45 touch points, because we deal with a lot of different categories, and one of our big ones is auto. And Google says that there's 24 touch points, 19 being digital, for buying an auto. So I just think that's an interesting comparison when you take 24 touch points for buying a car, 45 for travel. Just the intricacies of travel are intense and immense. So it's a cool little stat. All right. Now we're going to talk about growing your business, a little bit more tactical stuff. And we're going to use an analogy of farming. It's just a great way of talking about, hey, all the way from seed to harvest, let's talk about how we grow your business and grow some crops and have that metaphor throughout here. As Maria talked about, every traveler is unique. I'm not going to walk through this slide verbatim, but here we've got two, Ben and Brittany. They've got young children, just like Maria. They're looking for plenty of activities and going out for a hotel with kid-friendly accommodations. They thought on CTV, connected TV, to spark an interest. They searched for nearby spots. They got retargeted on social. Then they checked out popular travel websites, more search. They were reading Facebook reviews. Social keeps going with SEM, email, audio, then typing in a branded search, and then posting it on social, so building up word of mouth for you and your business. Just the point here is that there's all kinds of touch points, so let's make sure we hit them throughout this journey. So some of the tools of the trade, our farm equipment that we use to do this. Search, we have Google and Bing, typical search platforms, but also we put Gmail and YouTube in this bucket because they're a Google platform. So some of that powerful targeting that they have, insights on consumers, it's all under there. So we kind of put, even though Gmail's email, YouTube's video, it still kind of falls in that bucket to us for targeting and things of that nature. Social, Facebook and Instagram, we're going to talk a lot more about them, the importance that they play in planting the seed. Snapchat, you're going to see some increases there where people are looking to get that younger traveler. Twitter is still good, especially on customer service, so it's a little bit outside of getting reservations. And then programmatic. This bucket is amazing. It all kinds of sits in one platform. So again, the targeting is relatively the same. How you approach it can be, but it's definitely different platforms within all this. So you've got display, connected TV, pre-roll video, programmatic audio. We talked about Spotify and Blue Hotel Casino using them, and native ads. So those are kind of the tools that we're going to be talking about, and managing this field to get the greatest yield. And yes, we're going to use the funnel as the analogy too. So it's just easy and it's so important. A lot of people get hung up on just looking at how do I get the most out of this, and they say, I'm just going to look at the end of the road and I'm just going to do search because that's what drives me. I've looked at my last click attribution. It's all search. I should just focus all my money there. But you really, especially in the competitive marketplace that we're in, got to look at the whole journey holistically to get people managed through that and build awareness early. So I touched on that. This is a crowded marketplace. You guys know this. I'm not saying anything new here, but how do we rise above it? How do we get our brand awareness? How do we make sure people are choosing us when it comes down to that? And one thing, I mentioned we work with a lot of different groups. Property management is one that we work with, and it's the same kind of thing. They have apartmentfinders.com, apartment.com, so very competitive landscape in that realm too. So we're used to kind of fighting or trying to get that awareness ahead of time before we're looking at the end of the funnel when so much of these aggregators are taking share and competing with you. So one thing we have to do is make sure that we're farming in the right area. We need to find the best place to plant a seed and get these prospective travelers. Where that can start, some of the key tools with this are the data sources that you have and that are available, the targeting ability of some of the platforms, and obviously geo-targeting, knowing where your markets are, whether it's a drive market, a fly market, whether you're a ski resort, a sun resort, whatever that might be, and those people where they're coming from. So I'm sure most people kind of get that side on the geo part. First party targeting, your data. Yeah, that's great, Bob. You're talking about my data. I already have that data. But if you're not looking at lookalike modeling built off your data, you're missing the boat a little bit, or a lot. It is so powerful to take your data and then build more prospecting out of that. You can look at your data and say, what's the lifetime value of these customers, the best customers, how am I going to cross-sell to these, and past site visitors, and then build out lookalike modelings based on some of those behaviors. Here, when we talk about third-party data, this is going to be coming from Google, or your programmatic platforms, maybe Trade Desk, whatever it might be, social. So demographics, you know, we get that, age, income, gender, all those kind of simple things. But these things in the middle, the shopping and browsing habits, the interest, that's where we can really hone in to prospect and say, you know, I need people that are interested in skiing. I want people in interest in active lifestyle. I want people that are lazy and just want to sit by the pool. What are they shopping for, and how does that correlate to how I can market to them? So those are two components that are, you know, real robust data and ways to target your prospective clients. The geography,
and I think
very important.
Yeah, geography is a big one.
Yeah, you have a story about some work that you did with Sioux Falls.
Yes, I did. So we worked with a CVV, and again, in geography. Geography sounds like it would be, you know, make sense. Okay, well, but, you know, we know people usually come from here to travel to our destination or to our attraction or whatever it may be. But that's not always the case. And the cool thing about it is you can do some testing as well. So we worked with, again, a CBV that, you know, they were in the Midwest, and they were looking to get some people from different areas who maybe needed a change. You know, again, it goes back to those experiences. People are looking for something that's maybe different than the norm, something they don't experience every day. So they were targeting places like Miami, Austin, places I would never expect people to want to travel from to come up to the Midwest. As a Midwesterner, it kind of surprises me sometimes when people think, you know, hey, let's go up to Cleveland. So this is really interesting. So they really put their money into these buckets for these cities outside of their norm, outside of the travel, like driving distance. And that's where they saw a lot of success. And from there, they did a lot of testing with messaging. And again, we talked about that before, personalization, continuing with those touch points. So your geography may not be always what you think it is or what it always has been. It's kind of nice to test, you know, maybe there are some markets you haven't thought of or you'd like to kind of test and see what kind of traction you get there as well.
Awesome. Yeah, great success story on that one, finding new customers and new places to find that business. This one is super cool. You know, a lot of people say, okay, yeah, when it snows in the mountains, we need to advertise. Well, what if it's automatic for you? So dynamic targeting allows you to set parameters, and it's amazing all the parameters you can do. It rained 1 inch. It was a heavy rain. It was cloudy. It was a blizzard condition. You can set all kinds of parameters to say when this weather event happens or these events happen, I want to be showing ads. So if it snows 6 inches in Vail, maybe they want to target to Denver or Texas a little bit more. You know, if it's nasty weather in Minnesota, Florida might want to be targeting up there. So you can set parameters as when X happens, I want to serve ads and I want to do it for 24 hours. I want to do it for 48 hours. So it's really cool in that aspect, and we've had many clients have success with that. Even tire stores, you know, it snows, you need to sell more tires. Some of the other things, kind of the offshoots of that are we find very effective. Is live events is pretty cool. You know, you got Ohio State playing, Maria, and you know that those people like to come down to your resort in the Panhandle. This is a great time to hit those people. Or whatever event, you know this event's going on, that's your target market. You want to put something cool in there when they're in the basement of their house watching a game because it's disgusting outside. You know, You can do all this, and it's amazing how this dynamic targeting can work for you. And
I think
Marie,
going to your point too. Yeah, I was going to say, going to your point too, weather is so huge. So again, I'm in Ohio. Sometimes the weather's great. Sometimes, again, like Bob said, you don't want to leave. But I think, with a live game, Ohio State game, if you know the weather's going to be nice, you're going to want to get more fans down in the area or whatever. Team that up before the game with those people who are taking those short trips. Like we said, a lot of people are planning to take more short trips, the long trips. Maybe they want to get away for the weekend, make it a long weekend in Columbus. There's a lot of other things to do. So even if you're, not selling tickets or something like that, just driving awareness of what else there is to do while you're in Columbus for the game. Check out this museum or check out our great restaurant or some other things that have to do with, traveling to the city, just great attractions there. There's a lot of different ways you can use this dynamic targeting, and I think it's really interesting. Bob and I were talking about this a few years ago. This sounded like an absolutely ridiculous idea that we could, trigger ads based on things like weather. Now it's a reality. So it's really easy on your end. You kind of tell us what the parameters are, and we can set it up for you, and then we take it from there.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. We kind of going back a couple slides when we talked about that first-party data. Here's a ski rental shop, ski and snowboard. Let me correct myself, pardon me. But they have a customer base of 300 customers, or 300,000. And out of those, there's 100,000 rental segment of the rental customers. Pardon me, as I can't speak well right now. But their goal was, we want to increase ski and snowboard rentals. So we took that 100,000 of the database, matched it up with Facebook, and got 78,000 customers, 78% match. From there, when I was talking about that importance of lookalike, we took 78,000 and built a prospecting audience of people that looked like those customers and built an audience of 800,000. So huge area to now target more efficiently, reach them with specific messages, and be more efficient with your budget and turn that into revenue. Here we turned it into a 3-to-1 ROI on online direct reservations. The 6-to-1 is inferred because children's ski rentals is a little bit different. They want you to come in, they want to size the child, they want to get the right snowboard, things of that nature. So we worked with the client, saw their revenue growth, and then we had a 6-to-1 in their ski rentals for children. So incredible numbers there just by taking their data and leveraging that to an advantage. So we talked about planting the seed. Now let's prepare that soil. I'm sorry, and plant the seed. We talked about where to plant it. Now we're going to be planting it. Pardon me. We want to create awareness for your destination, your attraction, before people begin your search. We talked about the competitiveness at the bottom, so let's make sure we're building awareness at the top. This one is what hoteliers think of Facebook and what's most effective for them. There's a couple things that I kind of gravitated to. I mean, you can see kind of the order on number one. These are grouped by the type of hotel, inn, hotel group, things of that nature. And that kind of goes, okay, targeting new audiences starts at the top, personalized messaging, and this is for a few. But the ones that I kind of gravitated, and hopefully my cursor will come around, driving reach and brand awareness. When you start to come over to these independent luxury chains and independent businesses, 25 and 29%. Now this is one of their top ways to build brand awareness. So if you're someone that doesn't have a Hilton name or whatever it might be, this is incredible for driving brand awareness. And this is what people are thinking of that. One thing that I saw that I didn't think really jived a little bit, retargeting users from our site. What we find when we retarget is that it's one of our most effective ad groups. So this one I was a little surprised. If you're not retargeting, just based on what I'm looking at here, highly, highly recommend it. Incredibly powerful, and we're going to get some stats on there in a minute. Now we move over to the right and we talk about Facebook and all the social media. That's number one. But if you look what they've done, what they're planning to do from 18 and 19, yes, this was done a little bit ago, but they were looking at decreasing their ads. But if you go down to the third line, they're not really decreasing their ads. They're just moving their money over from regular Facebook to dynamic ads. And that's very powerful for hotels and flights and airlines. So now we've gone up 11% there. What I also found interesting in looking at this is now here, Snapchat. You know, it's one of the lowest ones. It hasn't been a big one. We've become a partner about 2 years ago. But look at that increase to reach those people when Maria's talking about, I want an experience, and they're probably of a younger set. You know, people are really starting to gravitate to that platform, and there's some cool stories, features, and things like that that you can do on that platform. So in the effort of time, I'm going to try to go just a little bit fast. But vacation views, 3 in 5 travelers who watch online videos use it to narrow down their search. It is sight, sound, and motion creates emotion. It's so powerful. Putting this on where can we build the awareness? We talked about Facebook does that. Display is doing it. Video is doing it. Audio. So there's all kinds of platforms to reach that are outside of search, that are going to get your message out there, get your name top of mind. And some of the messaging might be like get away, it's calling your name, elevate your escape. So kind of going back to that Central Oregon video, here's one. We just want to get interest in the coming to Bend in Central Oregon. And then maybe if you saw balloons, we're going to tie you down. We're going to get you for more targeted. Connected TV, very powerful platform, 74% in 74% of homes now. This one, what I like about this is I'm going to dismantle it in the sense that, sure, since connected TV can get you on all these cool sounding things and get you on Hulu, Sling, get you on CBS, you can do all that. But what's really important, what's so killer about CTV is getting in front of the right customer. It's not where we're placing it. It's not, you know, it went on this and you have a little brand appeal. It's that, no, instead of the female that we were hoping to get that was active, we got someone that was, you know, that plays tennis. So we're going to target someone that's a lot more interested in your product rather than worrying about a spray and play kind of like regular TV. So now we're getting interest. Now we need to spray these crops with some water, get some fertilizer in there. We need to nurture this interest and get people engaged and start driving them further down the stream for consideration. And one of the biggest ways, and I touched on it, is retargeting. So if you're not familiar with retargeting, you know, someone visits your site, they go to your hiking page, they view a page, you can actually retarget with a relevant ad based on where someone was on your site. So that's those creepy ads that follow you around, you hate them, and a lot of people say they don't like them, but the thing is, they work. That's why they're there. Website visitors who retargeted with display ads are 70% more likely to convert. Huge. And I read a stat the other day that something like 92% of people that visit a website for the first time do not purchase. So that's why retargeting is so incredibly powerful. Here, 91% of marketers who use retargeting found it to perform better or the same or better than search, email, or other display ads. So again, just reinforcing that. And 3 in 5 online viewers notice and consider ads showing products they viewed from another page. And it happens all the time. You get distracted. You were about to buy something, and the kids start screaming, so you step away. So retargeting works to kind of re-spark that. I'm sure Maria has a lot of experience with that. My kids are a little bit older now.
I wanted to also say, you mentioned, some people are like, oh, these are following me and I can't stand them. I think that people say that because they work and that they get you to spend they get you to make a decision. So, or as maybe some other people do, I don't know, sometimes I just tell my husband it's meant to be. This keeps following me. We need to go on vacation because obviously this ad knows that we need a trip. So, I think it just really, you see it so many times, it gets in your brain that maybe this is a good idea, whether it be shopping or a trip or whatever. It has such a huge impact.
It's a sign, for sure. Love it. So more on nurturing, on that retargeting. As we've moved from awareness down and we're nurturing them, video is such powerful. We touched on that, the power of video. Pre-roll, YouTube, connected TV are great ways to do that. Pre-roll is a good way to get in front of your audience on other sites that they're watching. Here's this example of being on ESPN. Facebook carousel, you can put videos on one of your images or all your images and tell that story. And now we're moving into messages that's more like activities. amenities, and instead of just features, I also like to talk about benefits. Let's talk about now it's stress-free, it's carefree, you know, all my worries are gone. This is incredible. I need to go on this vacation. So now that I feel great, I want to talk about, we touched on it with that shift from Facebook to dynamic ads, a little bit of what hoteliers were saying. Facebook has an incredibly dynamic ad platform, their travel ads. So now when people come into your site, they can, if they got to your booking page and they put in dates but they didn't do it, you can actually retarget these people with information on the dates that they were looking at, availability, pricing. It's pretty incredible on the express interest side. Of course, going up, I'm going in the wrong order. Intent, you can always serve ads based on what Facebook says this person is going to be traveling, and they have a lot of information. And then after someone booked, you want to hit them with relevant offers. So dining, activities, entertainment, just like when Maria was talking about when I went to Moab, or what I was talking about. I didn't have a lot booked when I went there, but once I got there, you know, so hit me with messages before I get there so I can plan my vacation a little bit better than I did last time.
And it talks about two experiences. We really hammered on, you know, people are looking for experiences now. It's such a big, I guess you want to say buzzword across advertising. You know, we do a lot of reading as far as what's going on in the industry, and everyone's talking about experience shopping. We're all kind of spoiled at this point. We want everything, and so I think this is a really great way to play into those experiences and remind people, hey, there's all these cool things to do that you're here, because we know people don't put their phones down when they get there. So it's a great way to just continue that messaging.
Yeah, I also laugh at like Vegas advertising what stays in Vegas, you know, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I think it's a little different. It's like what happens at our resort, keep happening on our resort. Don't leave our resort. Here's our entertainment. Here's our restaurants. You know, we want all your money. So yeah, it's a good way to keep that money in-house. This one is a little bit different, not off the Facebook platform, but you can retarget, you know, put pixels on your site. So when someone comes to your home page, you can deliver a message, you know, based on that. It's probably going to be a little bit more generic. Someone drives down and more into the activities page. In this case, they were looking at hiking. You serve ads about the outdoors and hiking, everything like in that realm that's going to interest them. And so start personalizing that ad copy and the creative to draw in that engagement and draw people in. They got all the way to your booking pages and the kid was crying and you didn't book it. Now serve an ad back to get them re-engaged all the way down in that process. And not getting too far in the weeds, but we can bid higher on basically the value on this. So we might bid higher for someone that left the booking page than someone that left it at home page. So bidding strategies aside, don't want to get too far in the weeds. But also, just like we talked about, after they booked, you might want to hit them with things to do in there, going to your restaurants. In this case, they have a lot of beer pictures on this one. So just things to do to hit them after they've already booked and personalize that journey for them or that ad. It's so incredibly effective. Now we've walked through all that engagement consideration. We talked about looking at the bottom of the funnel. Well, search is one heck of a tool to do it. You know, it rounds out all the programs that you've been doing. Maria talked about how I think 58% of the people are putting that. I forget the exact stat, but it's so incredibly powerful. And here's some best practices that we think, you know, can help you out. Here, someone typed in where to snorkel at night, the keyword West Florida. Bidding on those long tail keywords is a great strategy to get people that are more engaged and looking, not just going to Key West, but actually what they're going to be doing. So some of the best practices is make sure your brand name, that you own it, that you have mastered that part of the branding search. Keyword analysis, go through there, make sure you know the ones that are working as well as the ones that aren't working. You can use negative keywords there. Long tail, we just talked about that. Text ad composition, so all those little elements within the text ad that can add value there. And then landing pages, that one is a little bit an offshoot, but what's really interesting is Google says, where are you sending these people? I need to know. And they say, oh, that landing page is great. It tells you everything. It's true to the ad. We're going to score you higher in relevancy. So think about that when you're sending people to a different page, make sure that landing page is relevant. Add extensions, extremely important. Location ones, obviously important. And mobile site optimization. I think that one's almost just table stakes nowadays. Geo-effectiveness. Maria talked about geography, going outside boundaries and going to your bread and butter. Beyond is one that I think is more ad taxi centric, maybe not retargeting, but search pacing tool. That's something we do so that we make sure your budget is spent evenly throughout the month, so that you're seeing good leads throughout there. We can control your volume. Error checking scripts, so we can see if maybe your webmaster did something, broke a URL, and all of a sudden something isn't working. We actually see it automatically. And pixel firing verification, so we know if that someone hit that page and we're seeing that or not seeing it. All of a sudden we're losing some tracking. So we make sure that all our pixels are firing accordingly. And of course, conversion tracking. We want to set up the goals that you think are important: ticket sales, bookings, phone calls, all those kind of things. We're going to measure to what is important to you. We don't really look at clicks and impressions and things like that. We call those vanity metrics. So we want to look at what is important for you in that sense. Search is a tool that can really drive all the way down to this.
Yeah, and Bob, real quick to your ad extensions. I know I just wanted to touch on this real quickly. There's a lot of different ways. If you're not familiar with ad extensions, we could help you out if you have questions. You feel free to follow up. But I think it's really interesting. You can, again, do some testing on your messaging, or 60% off, or this weekend only, or check us out these dates for X, Y, and Z. Maybe there's a big event going on and you're kind of tied to that. There's a lot of different ways you can tailor those messages and not have just one. You can have several variations. So that's a great way to just kind of change it up and see where you're getting, the most interest. And you can then tailor your other campaigns, in response to what you're seeing performance on your ad extensions too.
Awesome. Thanks for coloring in the lines there. Sometimes I take things for granted, but that's awesome value add. Then this kind of goes back to, we started off with a client success story. This one is more of an aggregate. One thing that we've noticed, and I hate to use the word preach, but using multiple platforms is incredibly powerful. Here we did a study of 250 accounts, obviously not all travel, but host of different accounts in different businesses. Search only was $20 per action, not per click. This is per action, so it could be a conversion metric that we set up. Social, $17.80. But when we pair these, all of a sudden our programs get so much more efficient. In this case, a 46% decrease in CPA, down to $10.32 for search and social. So if you're not using multiple platforms, here's one for search and social. Here we did another study, different 250 accounts, but ones that had search and RTB, and we had a 49% decrease in CPA. So they've got their beer in their hand, they've got their toes in the sand. That's the better together part on that. Wish I had a beer in my hand sometimes right now, but just to kind of say, get your product mix there. Let's keep the land fertile. I'm going to try to wrap it up here pretty fast. Understand the total yield. Look at your metrics, the ones that matter to your business. Set up goals that are important to you. Obviously bookings and things like that, but are there other signals that say I'm getting someone down closer to a buying behavior? So try to think about those, what's important to you. Don't just look at clicks and impressions. Also look upstream. Understand the impact of nurturing. So as you look upstream, we just did a whole webinar on attribution, and how did social come through here to help out? How did RTB help out? How did video help out? So look upstream as to understand that full journey. And then from there, when you've done that, now you can start making really strategic budget adjustments, smart decisions that are based on data. And obviously we preach it, again, I use that word, but omni-channel. Use multiple platforms to enhance that, and then, budget accordingly for that. So a little bit of, kind of tease on us a little bit. Siloed vendors, when you're working with 4 or 5 vendors, somebody that has search, another person has your social, another person has this, that's very challenging. And especially if you want to do the right thing and move your budget around, someone's going to be fighting for that. It's time consuming. You don't really get the same metrics. So, vendors like AdTaxi, hopefully maybe someone you're working with, that offer variety, have more options to grow your business. Those are people that are going to be looking out for your best interests holistically in that realm. So why we kind of say, make sure you plant varieties and work with vendors that have more varieties. Some takeaways, we talked about travel insights. Maria talked about that. We use a good analogy from building seed to harvest, all the way really touching, getting that awareness of your brand up top, driving all the way to search and decision. Use proof positive, started with a success story, ended with a little bit more on combining platforms, and touched on variety is key. Got to use a lot of different platforms, especially in this insanely competitive industry that you're in, to be effective. Little bit of shameless self-promotion. Yes, we have to talk a little bit about ourselves. We are a Google Premier partner, Bing partner, and Facebook partner. Facebook was probably 3 years ago, and that was a new one they were offering. At that time, we were one of 6 partners. Snapchat would become one, I think, is about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. The point of that, there's 2 things. One, these people don't just hand out these partnerships. We go through stringent guidelines and have to adhere to certain performance standards, et cetera. But also, we're also evolving. Snapchat is something new. Our innovation helps you grow. And we're constantly innovating to make sure that you perform better. Because if we're not, you're not. And that's our whole goal, is to always be innovating, always be doing right for what our clients' best interest is in that. Maria, you want to say anything, or do we have any questions that are there? We've got 7 minutes till the hour. Hopefully we still have about
It looks like we do. I want to tell everyone thank you, and I want to talk about just a little bit of, there's so much information we could have really gotten into, but we wanted to keep it kind of a high level just to help everyone. And then if you have additional questions or need help drilling down, please reach out to us. There's a lot of different ways to get to your goal, and there's so many different opportunities to dig into the data and then use that to tailor your messaging. But I think overall, you just want to remember that, no 2 shoppers, no 2 travelers are going to look alike. So you want to think, different ways to kind of tweak your messaging and tweak your approach so that you're constantly getting in front of someone. And Bob mentioned some of our partnerships. One of the ones on there, Snapchat, is the one I've kind of learned the most about over the last year. It is a great way to reach a bigger demographic than you may think. It does skew a little younger, but there are a large portion of users that are moms wanting to know what the heck their kids are doing on there. So that is actually a great opportunity to get in front of those families, get in front of moms looking on there, trying to figure out, like myself, how this thing works. And then, there's different, you just got to be creative and kind of think outside the box when you're looking to get your message in front of people. Again, that is very visual, very video focused, so you have a lot of great opportunity there. Let me see if we have any questions. I know we're running up against time here, so let's take a quick look and see if any have come through. I guess here's one. It says, how would you recommend allocating budget between platforms and between different, social and whatnot? Bob, do you want to take that, or do you want me to go ahead with that one?
I can take it. Hopefully this is not the non-answer that you're looking for, and thanks for asking this. There's so much that depends. It really depends on your budget, your goals, the problems that you're trying to solve. What I can say, if you're not overly constrained, and hopefully what we've tried to convey in some of this, is make sure you're doing a multi-platform approach. Search is going to be that bottom, but it's so incredibly important to have those top awareness things like social and display. And video is a great platform too, and you can incorporate that into social. So there's a lot of different platforms to do that. Once you start getting your site visitors, though, look at your budget and then start thinking about retargeting. I can't say that enough. Retargeting is so powerful. It's always our most effective ad group. So when you start getting more site visitors, you build a retargeting pool, look at allocating your budget that way. So it's hard to give a direct answer on that. It really depends on your goals, but think about using multi-platform and retargeting as part of that.
Here's one, and I apologize, this makes it a little tricky to read these. It says, what should be retargeting messaging for B2B with long sales cycle? You know, it's really going to depend on, I guess, what you're selling, obviously, what you're looking to promote, and again, kind of figuring out what the users are doing or where they are in the process. So, you know, B2B is a little bit different, but you just kind of, if they're just in the discovery phase, retargeting them with more of a generic message. You never want to use the same message you used initially because people don't typically click on the same message twice. But then from there, you may want to see what pages they've gone to your website. Maybe they've looked at a very specific page on your site, and then you can then track that information and send them a retargeting message that corresponds with, hey, and I know we've all gotten these messages, hey, we saw you looked at this, here's some more details, or just that, a message that looks similar to what they clicked on. There's a lot of, I guess, specifics. We have some information on our site too that gets a little bit more into retargeting. Again, that's a kind of a tricky one because it really depends on what you're trying to promote and I guess how you want to go about that. It looks like someone asked if we'll be sending this out afterward. We'll be sending out an email with the recording. It'll probably go out tomorrow, which is when I get everything ready to go. So you will be able to access that information. And sorry, this one got cut off. So I'll have to take a look at that. I think that's it. There's one on here about SEO. SEO is definitely really important. We didn't touch on that too much. It's a lot longer process, and that's why. So if you have specific questions about SEO, again, you can reach out and we can help you with that. SEO just it's not something you can do overnight. It's not something like dynamic targeting where you can set it and it can make all these changes on the fly. It's much more gradual. It takes several months to kind of refine your SEO strategy. So it is important because, like I said, if someone's looking for, a mountain vacation for spring break, they're going to get, you're going to want to be at the top of the list when you show up. But again, it takes much more time and refinement to, be able to show up on those top suggestions. I think we got all of them, Bob. If there's any other questions, I'll take a look again. I apologize. Our system makes it a little tricky to read the questions. We will go ahead and follow up with them afterward individually. And again, we should have that recording out to you tomorrow, so look for that. And if you have any other questions, again, reach out to us. We're happy to help. Thank you so much for your time today. We hope you have a great afternoon, and we will talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Maria.